Are you tired of sitting in front of your desk, not knowing where to start? This has happened to me so many times that I know you know how frustrating it can be. And here is a secret. Almost every creative person has gone through this, so you're not alone. However, I have some creative solutions that might help you. I want to show you some creative exercises to get you inspired, motivated, and confidently create. So let's get started. Creative exercise number 1, making marks. You will need thick paper, acrylic paint, plastic card, a palette knife, and a paintbrush. I'm using very cheap acrylic paint from the dollar store, but this will work with any acrylic paint you have at home, so you don't have to buy anything new. I love creating marks on my projects, and this is so easy to do with so many different objects that you can find around the house. Like this plastic card. I have so many of those plastic cards in my wallet, and it's just easy to just recycle them and create marks. I started making straight lines with the different colors by just running the card through the paint. And you can create lines in all different directions with any colors that you love. The paper I'm using is thick mixed media paper. You can also use watercolor paper, anything thick that can take a lot of medium and paint. You can use these techniques inside your art journal or use cardstock to create card backgrounds or even on a canvas. You can do the same thing with a palette knife if that's what you have at home. Or with a ruler or any straight-edged object. You can find lots of pattern inspiration all around you in architecture or textile like you see here. You can also create marks with the tip of your palette knife. Depending on how pointy or round it is, you will create different types of marks. You can also use the back of your paintbrush. Yes, I'm not even using the paintbrush to paint with. I'm just using the back of the paintbrush to create dots, to create lines or circles. And that is really helpful because you can use any type of thin object to create really cool markings. I want you to connect and experience each line and dot you create as if you're part of the page. Don't think about what you're creating. Just enjoy the creativity, and instead of concentrating on what you're doing right or wrong, just go ahead and be part of the process and don't think, just create. These creative exercises are meant to get your creativity flowing. They are meant to free your mind from any fears and insecurities and just help you create confidently. You can really come up with some really cool results, as you can see here. Creative exercise number 2, watercolor bubbles. You will need thick paper, watercolors, soft paintbrush, and water. Each exercise has its purpose, and this one has a relaxing purpose. I want you to relax when you're creating, and creating these watercolor bubbles is really relaxing. The first thing I did is just added some water in a circular motion on my page. Then I took a little bit of watercolor and added just a tiny dot. I want you to watch how this tiny dot spreads through the water and concentrate on each stroke. Watch as the water flows in some areas while it pools in others. Watch the colors spread. Connect to that feeling as if you're creating for the first time. Watching the water flow is really relaxing, as you don't have to think composition, color combination, and just relax and enjoy the creative process. This watercolor technique is so easy, and it can be used in your art journals as card backgrounds or embellishments, and even on a canvas. I didn't prep my page with any gesso. I'm just using thick mixed media paper, and you can also use watercolor paper. You can find a lot of similar images by getting inspired in nature or in circular images all around you, like you see here. The sun, the moon, the galaxies, and even water ripples are perfect examples of these beautiful, inspirational, circular forms in nature. Circle patterns are so readily available in nature. They represent wholeness and infinity and make us feel whole when we use them in our art. Have you ever wondered why so many things are round and why circles represent so many things all around you? I really love how these turned out, and I could sit for hours just making these circles. Creative exercise number 3, creating tea and coffee stains. You will need paper, coffee or tea, and a paintbrush. Coffee and tea has been used for generations to stain fabric, paper, to create that beautiful vintage look. You can use coffee or tea for this, and you can create beautiful stains. With the tea, you can basically just take the tea bag and splatter it on the background. With the coffee, you can do splatters, even with a paintbrush or just with your finger if you want to. You can also use a cup to create different coffee circular stains. And I thought it's the perfect medium to just play with and show you all the cool things you can do with something you have already at home. Since you're using coffee and tea, not only will you be able to connect to the patterns, but you will also be able to connect to the scent. Bring in the aroma of the coffee or tea that you're using and connect to each stain, as if you're drinking it right now. It's okay if you don't love coffee. You can also do this technique with watercolors or acrylic paints. And you can create stains with it as well, like I'm doing here with the black paint. I'm using different sized cups, and you can use either a ceramic mug or plastic cups to create these really cool circle stains. And these are great accents for any type of project, whether you're doing again an art journal or a card background or even a canvas. I do prefer using coffee or tea to create the stains, and you can even stain a whole paper with them. However, you can always create them with colors that you love, even pinks, blues, and purples. Look at these beautiful stains right here. Creative exercise number 4, squirts and splatters. You will need a thick paper, paintbrushes, and acrylic paint. There's nothing more satisfying than squirting paint on a surface. No wonder why Jackson Pollock got it right. They might look messy, but the pure act of not having to think, just squirting and splattering, is so liberating. I've done this a few times when I felt the most frustration, and it helped me so much. One of the times I remember the most is when my friend passed away, and I really couldn't create. I was so stuck, and I didn't know what to do. And all I did is sit at my desk and just squirt paint everywhere. I didn't care how it was going to turn out. I just wanted to squirt like I'm doing here. And it really released everything that I was feeling inside. It was as if whatever I had inside was being squirted onto the page. You can see the page here. You can use any acrylic paint that you have. It's usually better if it's more watery. That way, it's easier to squirt. You can also use the paint to splatter. You can use a regular paintbrush or you can use a fan brush. I'd really encourage you to try this because this exercise specifically is more related to bringing happiness into your creativity. I use splatters in my projects a lot, like you see here. Creative exercise number 5, texture marks. You will need a thick paper, palette knife, plastic card, and modeling paste. In this exercise, we're going to be creating marks again, but this time instead of doing it with acrylic paint, we're going to be doing it as indentations into modeling paste. I'm using just regular modeling paste that is readily available in many places. I'm spreading it over my paper. Again, I'm using the same thick paper. Then I took the plastic card and created markings into the wet paste. You can also do this with a paintbrush by just using the back and creating little circles. There are so many objects around the house that can create these 3D markings. As a bonus, I want to show you a little clip from my friend Tiffany's video. She has some very cool ways to create texture. I will link her video below in the description area. You can tap the palette knife over the paste to create really rugged texture. Another really fun way to do this is to use a lid and create circle indentations. Texture is one of my favorite techniques. There's something about texture that really resonates with me. It is so readily available in everything you see. You just need to look around you. Everything has texture. That's how our eyes can perceive depth and even danger. I really wanted to show you how the indentations came out. But first you need to dry the modeling paste really well. I watered down the page and then used some watercolors to lightly color over the textured area so you can really see how beautiful it came out. In art, we can do texture in so many different ways. My favorite is with stencils, but you can also use paste or even paint to create that 3D effect. You can apply many of these texture techniques to any project, whether it is an art journal, a card background, or even a canvas. Texture is everywhere, that I couldn't help showing you so many examples. I encourage you to find your own objects to create your own texture. If you thought these exercises were really helpful, then you can see some more ideas on how to create texture on your projects right here. Bye!